there might be plans in the future to try and increase that. That's obviously a discussion that happens, but down the road. But at this point in time, we're shooting for 5 reuses.
All right. We have time for another question from social media. And this one, when will the astronauts on the International Space Station return to Earth? Great question. So the Crew 1 astronauts, of course, that launched from here in Florida this past November, they are scheduled to return on April 28th, and they will be splashing down off the Florida coast. SpaceX hasn't narrowed down a specific location just yet, but they will be splashing down somewhere either in the Gulf of Mexico or along the eastern coast of Florida about 12:30 Eastern Time on April 28th. And we see a few more folks coming outside in anticipation of the crew walkout. It looks like Elon Musk and Steve Jurczyk, the NASA administrator, taking their spots to the right of your screen. We also can see astronaut support crew members and some suit technicians gathered outside there.
We can also see some of the crew members' families. I recognize some of them there in the background. Those blue suiters, those astronauts that are there are the unsung heroes. They are there as family escorts, personally selected by the crew members to care for their family, both immediate and the extended family and friends that are here. So hats off to those guys, because they are there to care for the families.
And Tracy, how meaningful is it for the families to have this opportunity to see the crew walk out?
I'm glad you asked that, because this is the first time that we allow family to be at this point, so the crew members get to see their family. During shuttle, that was mainly employees, and our families were elsewhere, either on the roof of LCC or at Banana Creek. And so it is so important, and it will be vital for the crew to see their families and their families to see them just before they head out to the pad.
Like we mentioned earlier, pilot Megan MacArthur is married to NASA astronaut Bob Behnken, who flew on the Demo 2 mission last year. And so we expect to see Bob. I can't quite tell which one he is from this angle, but I'm sure we'll see it up close later. And it's just, I think it is so awesome that, Megan was seeing him off a year ago, and now he's seeing her off to do the same position. And I just think that's really cool. They are a power couple, and I love it.
Yeah, ultimate power couple.
Yeah.
And Tracy, I remember you saying, we were talking about this earlier, and that it's the harder job of the family member to say goodbye to their astronaut when it's their day to fly.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure Bob is keeping it together on the outside, but inside he's way more nervous, I bet, today than he was on the day he was sitting on that seat on the launch pad. Just a guess.
And so it is T-minus 3 hours, 24 minutes and counting. And any moment now, we expect to see the crew leave the room and start walking down the hallway. We'll see them get into an elevator. And here is a shot of the elevator. So, the hallway. And so where those, that is Joe Acaba to the left.
And Jessica Watkins, one of our newer astronauts there. They both are part of the VET team, the Vehicle Integration and Test team office.
And we'll see the crew walk out. There's a doorway to the left of your screen where Joe and Jessica are facing. And we'll see the crew walk out of that doorway and come straight down towards where the camera is pointing any moment now. And here they come.
There they are.
Commander Shane Kimbrough, pilot Megan MacArthur in the front, Megan blowing kisses. Toma and Aki ready for their ride to the space station. And inside the elevator there is a poster you can see in the background. It has the signatures of folks who have worked on this mission.
So this is the first of 2 elevator rides that these guys will be partaking in today. The second, of course, being the elevator ride to almost the top of the the structure next to the launch pad.
And we will see the crew walk out in just a moment, but first we want to hear a performance of America the Beautiful by preeminent jazz and classical saxophonist, composer, band leader, and 3-time Grammy. So that was a beautiful performance we just heard from 3-time Grammy winner Branford Marsalis of America the Beautiful. And we can see some members of the closeout team heading out of the operations and checkout building. We expect the crew to walk out at T-minus 3 hours and 20 minutes. So about a minute from now, we will see the crew walk out those famed doors. And you can see above them, they're teeny tiny from where we're looking, but stickers from past mission patches. And Tracy, I'm sure you have a sticker up there.
Yes, yes. From STS 118, one of my crewmates made sure that we were well represented.
I love the traditions that we have in spaceflight, and and I love that we are getting to continue that tradition with stickers for these NASA SpaceX missions. You can actually see, I believe it's on the right-hand side of the meatball located above the doors. I believe that's where the crews for Demo 2 and Crew 1 placed their stickers.
We're going to have to widen the walkway here, I think, get a little bit.
Yeah.
And there we have another shot of more stickers. And these stickers denote the missions in which the Teslas were utilized for. So here, counting backwards from the right, the red one is obviously the Crew 2 mission patch, the blue dragon to the left of that being Crew 1, the white helmet from Demo 2, and then the triangular patch from Demo 1. So even though we didn't have any real astronauts, we had Ripley, our test subject, but we did do full mock-up.
And here they come, the Crew 2 astronauts taking their first steps outside before their journey to space.
Yay!
I love this moment. They're now going to have the opportunity to wave goodbye from a safe distance. The distance is normal protocol for spaceflight. This is not a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This would be in place even if we didn't have that situation going on. But I love this moment. It's a wonderful opportunity to see the astronauts get some final farewells from their friends and family members.
And we've got Shane and Megan to the right of your screen, Toma and Aki to the left.
Shane's wife.
Shane and his wife posing for a socially distanced photo.
Yes.
And it looks like Bob Behnken is there in a blue polo with the son of he and Megan MacArthur. Yeah, there's a better shot of Bob, Megan, and their son. What an experience as their son to do this twice.
Get to see dad and mom go to space.
He's going to think this is normal to whatever all kids experience.
And you can see on the license plate of that Tesla Recycle, you can't see it from this shot, but the other two Teslas in this convoy have reduce and reuse.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So
the first one is
pretty cool.
reduce, the second one is reuse, and this one is recycle.
A nod there again to Earth Day, the originally planned date for launch.
People are more impressed by the Tesla than by the rocket.
And we see those Tesla doors starting to close now.
Like I mentioned before, the equipment is already in the Tesla. The astronauts are plugged into that small blue box, and they're getting that cool air flowing through their suits once again. And the AC is turned up on high in those Teslas to make sure everybody's comfy.
You've seen some people go around to the backside of the cars. This is another opportunity for family members to approach and have a little bit more private moment with their crew member before they leave.
With the windows up, of course.
I can't tell you how meaningful this is for crew to have this opportunity to see their loved one this close to heading out to the pad. This is a nice change that we've made.
And this is the car carrying Shane Kimbrough on the right rear passenger side, and Megan MacArthur is on the left rear passenger side. And then this the third Tesla in the convoy here with the recycle license plate has Thomas sitting on the back rear side and Aki sitting on the left rear side. And as soon as the families come back around, we should see the convoy begin to pull away. Right on schedule.
We love you.
I love you too, brother.
ONC departure on schedule.
All right, so we just heard that announcement that the crew has departed the operations and checkout building on schedule. They are now on their way to Launch Complex 39A, scheduled to lift off at 5:49 a.m. Eastern Time this morning. It will be about a 15-minute drive with a full security escort across NASA's Kennedy Space Center and out to the launch pad. And as we follow the convoy, we'd like to share some words from the teams working so hard day and night to get this crew to the International Space Station.
Wishing crew 2 good luck and a safe trip.
Good luck, Shane, Megan, Aki, and Thomas.
Go Crew 2! Go Crew 2! Go Crew 2! You guys are inspiration to all of us. Let's go Crew 2!
We want to wish you a safe and successful mission. Go Crew 2!
Go Crew 2!
As a female aerospace engineer in progress, I just wanted to say I'm beyond inspired by you and your family's endeavors.
And we want to wish the Crew 2 astronaut a safe trip to the International Space Station. Board Dragon.
Hey, Crew 2. Looking forward to watching you guys launch today. The screens behind me should look familiar. I'm looking forward to getting to see you guys use it for real.
So proud you'll be representing all Yellow Jackets on the NASA SpaceX Crew Dragon to the ISS. Good luck.
On behalf of the Hunt program, Clear Creek High School has a message for you.
Have a safe and successful mission to space. 頑張ってください。Yay!
Yay!
Last stop! Go Crew 2!
Go Megan MacArthur and all of Crew 2. UCLA is rooting for you.
Hey, Tuma. We wish you a great flight.
Godspeed, Crew 2. Go Falcon 9, go Dragon.
We want to wish you Godspeed. Yay!
Crew 2, have an amazing and safe flight.
Good luck, Crew 2, on your mission to help further research and human presence in space.
And we'd all like to wish the crew of SpaceX Crew 2 good luck on their journey to the International Space Station. I can't wait to support you guys when you get there.
Enjoy space, enjoy your mission. Go Issa, go ISS, go Mission Alpha.
We're going to be there with you as you're going through space, and we're going to be there with you as you're on the crew, on ISS, and we're going to be there with you when you're coming home.
So the convoy will be making their way just behind us here at the press site. But for right now, a closer look at the Crew 2 spacecraft commander riding in this convoy. Here is two-time spaceflight veteran NASA astronaut Shane Kimbrough.
I love it. It doesn't matter what I'm flying, a helicopter, an airplane. It's just incredible. Views we get are great, the sensations you have. Helicopter flying to me is really a lot of fun because generally we're down in the trees. It's very challenging, and now learning to fly jets around here at NASA's been pretty incredible too. Had to hang up the helicopter keys, but pulled out some jet keys, and it's pretty nice. I'd always wanted to be an astronaut ever since I was a little kid. My grandparents lived in Titusville, right across from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, so I spent a lot of time down there as a small child.
Ignition sequence start.
My grandfather was really the inspiration behind all this because he would drag me out to see anything launching.
Launch commit. Liftoff. We have liftoff.
Roger.
1 minute, 19 seconds.
For whatever reason, it kind of stuck in my blood. The ironic thing is when I decided to go to West Point, I figured that my dream of being an astronaut was gone, so I kind of gave up on it because I didn't realize you could be in the Army and be an astronaut, but it turns out you can. So back in 2008, I flew on STS-126. We were kind of a resupply mission. So they called our mission actually the Extreme Home Makeover Mission for the space station. We got a chance to bring up new bedrooms, a new bathroom, a new kitchen, a new gym, really outfit the station to be able to support more than 3 crew members. So that was pretty cool to be part of that. And then to go back a few years later in 2016 and 2017 when I flew on the Soyuz. That was an incredible time up there. The long duration piece was obviously a lot different than the shuttle couple-week mission. There's a different cadence, a different rhythm you have to get into, more of a marathon pace versus a sprint pace. Space shuttle for me was you're kind of rocking and rolling for the first couple minutes while the solid rocket boosters are on, and then it smooths out and it's pure acceleration. The landing coming back in is super smooth because you're landing on a runway, and Soyuz to me was kind of the opposite. It was a really smooth ride uphill, but coming back was really violent, and pretty incredible that we made it through that, but they've been doing it for many, many years, and a proven product for sure. We do things differently down in Florida now than we did for shuttle, so it was just a whole different world. We kind of blended, I would say, the best things from shuttle during quarantine and launch day operations and the best things from Soyuz that we've learned over the years, and kind of now we have a hybrid of those really good things on launch day especially. I'm really excited about it. I love the Kennedy Space Center. and all the teams down there that I've gotten to work with. I love it for our country, our nation, that we're launching out of the U.S. again. It's a great capability that we have, and just happy to be doing it again out of Florida. My name is Shane Kimbrough. I am the commander of NASA's SpaceX Crew 2 mission to the International Space Station.
Riding in the same car as Kimbrough is Crew Dragon pilot and NASA astronaut Megan McArthur. She's about to embark on her second space flight, and this will be her first trip to the International Space Station.
My name is Megan McArthur. I'm the pilot for NASA's SpaceX Crew 2 mission to the International Space Station. I first thought of becoming an astronaut when I was in high school. So my dad was a Navy pilot, and so I first thought, I'd love to be a pilot. We lived at Moffett Field Naval Air Station, which was connected with Ames Research Center. We'd hear the wind tunnels going, at all hours of the day and night. And also it's where shuttle astronauts would come to do their landing and rollout training. And so I would see them, come in their T-38 jets and get out in their spiffy blue flight suits and walk in to do their training. And I thought, well, that looks like fun. How do I get that job? And I knew that it was a long shot, right? But I also knew that I wanted to be a part of something like that, right? A part of this bigger thing of exploration. And then I kind of took this left turn into oceanography, but really it's all about exploration. We're not better equipped to survive underwater, any better than we are in outer space. And so we need technology to help us explore those areas. So how do we do those things? We can send rovers, we can send people, we have to build the right kind of machines to support that. And so there's a lot of parallels. From graduate school in oceanography, I always had this idea in the back of my mind, and I went ahead and applied, and I got really lucky. Every launch experience is very unique to the individual. We climbed aboard, and there's that period of waiting, and you actually get a little bit uncomfortable. Your body starts to cramp up, and you're ready to go. And then when the actual launch goes, it's indescribable. It's so much energy. You are moving so fast. One of my main focuses was capturing this free-flying vehicle, the Hubble Space Telescope. The really complicated spacewalks that were planned out, 5 spacewalks back to back to back. So it was just this tremendous rush of activity for really 11 days until we were ready to let the telescope go. 3, 2, 1, release. And back and away. Clear the antenna. We dream these amazing dreams. We have these huge goals, and we're going to be successful when we work on them together. When you think about the International Space Station and the size of that vehicle and the breadth of science that gets accomplished on that vehicle with all of the different countries that are participating, and then now we've added commercial partners where they have a vehicle that we are using to get us to our space laboratory. Have these big dreams where we look out to the horizon and this desire to explore the universe around us, and we're always going to be more successful when we work together to achieve these incredible dreams.
So there's the convoy there on your screen. They just passed behind us just moments ago, on their way to pad 39A. Now, if you're wondering what the crew is listening to, first let's look at this Twitter comment. It's so cool seeing Bob see his wife off for this mission. Crew 2 almost a year after she did the same for him for Demo 2. I just love that. Like I said before, they are a power couple, and I can't get enough of it.
Absolutely. And they've got a really cool playlist that we had a preview of, but you were starting to talk about that, Kate.
Yeah, so the astronauts, of course, get to pick their playlist in their Tesla. So in the first car with Shane and Megan, I'm not sure which one they're listening to this instant, but they had selections like Learn to Fly by the Foo Fighters, a personal favorite of mine, Crazy Train, Ozzy Osbourne, Enter Sandman, Metallica. I was listening to that one on my way in today. City of Blinding Lights, U2. And in Aki and Tomas' car, Drops of Jupiter. That is a classic, Paradise City by Guns N' Roses, and, of course, Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins.
Yeah. Little Top Gun action. I love it. The NASA and SpaceX team inside the Launch Control Center here at Kennedy Space Center just watched this convoy pass by from their windows at the LCC, and we caught up with the NASA Commercial Crew Program Manager about what that moment is like.
As they drive down that road, down to Launch Pad 39A, and you can see the crew, and then to me, that's when it really becomes real. Not that it's not real every step of the way during preparations, but everybody in the firing room will stand up and it gets really quiet. And I think that's when everybody realizes, hey, we're about to go do this for real. And you can just feel the passion and the intensity. Everybody in that room and everybody in Houston and Hawthorne, you know, I think they're standing up too, watching, because they know, hey, this is going to be a great mission, but it's about to get really serious.
And now the crew is approaching Pad 39A and entering what is known as the Blast Danger Area, or BDA, and now approaching the base of the pad. But the teams have conducted internal go, no-go polls to make sure that this area was safe before they entered. And as they are approaching the base of the pad, we have some more messages from those with some personal connections to this crew.
Godspeed, and we'll see you when you come home.
Godspeed, and have a great trip to the ISS. Yeah!
Crew 2, we're ready for you. Thank you for flying with SpaceX.
Good luck from the bakery and Simco Logistics team. Go Crew Dragon!
Someone to wish Crew 2 happy flight?
When I say crew, you say two. Crew.
Two.
Crew.
Go Dragon!
Go SpaceX!
Go NASA
Crew 2 is launching, there's 10 seconds for this cheers. So good luck to the astronauts and Dragon engineers.
Go Shane! Go Megan! Go Thomas!
Go Aki. Go Falcon.
Go Endeavor! And go Crew 2! We are wishing you guys a safe mission to the ISS. Good luck and Godspeed, Megan, Shane, Akihiko, and Thomas.
So I'm here to wish Crew 2 a successful launch on the Falcon 9. Launch America!
Good luck, Crew 2!
On behalf of the Dragon Engines and Tanks Engineering team, have a safe flight.
Wishing Shane, Megan, Tama, and Akihiko a safe flight and a productive stay at the ISS. Go Falcon, go Dragon, and go Crew 2!
Crew 2, Godspeed, and thank you for flying SpaceX.
Have a safe flight!
And it is an honor and a privilege to be a part of this and contribute in some way. And I couldn't be more excited to see you on this mission.
All right, that was some messages from the SpaceX team and others that have been working so hard to get this crew to this day. We are looking at the base of Launch Complex 39A, and we can see the Falcon 9 first stage booster on the pad. Kate, I know SpaceX has done some extensive upgrades since you began leasing this, and we can't see the crew on screen here. They take a bio break once they get to the pad, so it'll be a couple of minutes before they ascend the fixed service structure to the right of your screen. That's that big black tower. And we also should be hearing an announcement from the Corps, specifically Chad Healy, that the crew has arrived at the pad, so that could be coming any minute.
Yeah, like you said, we have made a number of upgrades. In case if you aren't familiar with the history of this launch pad, it was originally built in the 1960s to support the Saturn V rocket for the Apollo program. And of course, this is where we went to the moon from. This is the launch pad where Apollo 11 took off from. After that program, it was upgraded to support shuttle, and then after that, SpaceX took over the lease for it in 2014, and we actually had our first flight from here in February of 2017, which was a cargo resupply mission to the International Space Station. So we've been busy. It looks a little different. We did make some upgrades to aesthetics, but a lot of it was safety driven. I believe, the shuttle structures were iconic. It was, of course, heartbreaking for everyone to see the rotating service structure come down, but we did have to remove it for safety purposes, but also it was just unnecessary for what we would be doing to advance the next generation of human spaceflight. So I will say that the tower there does have the bones of that original fixed service structure. And so there are many things that are still original in there, like the telephone, which we will see later on. I think we'll save that for later, but also it's the same elevator that the shuttle astronauts rode up in as well. Yeah, so
Tracy's got her hand on her heart here.
It looks different, but there we have a shot of those elevators there. Elevators that don't have floor numbers, but rather foot numbers on them.
Yeah.
The Crew 2 astronauts will be hitting the button for the 255-foot level of this structure. But yeah, these are the original elevators, obviously maintained for safety, but so while it may look different, a lot of that history is still there.
And Tracy, this is the same pad, of course, that you launched from years ago.
Yes, very fond memories of it on my flight. So we got out of the Astrovan, the pilot on our flight on STS-118, Charlie Hobaugh, who we called Scorch, paused and looked up at the stack, and he stopped my crewmate, fellow rookie, Barbara Morgan, and I to pause and take a look at this mammoth spacecraft we were about to fly on, because he said this is going to be the last time you see this view. And I'll never forget that moment. It was very meaningful to me. I cherish it. But Barbara and I realized we got to hurry up. We don't want to miss our first launch. And so we scooted on, and he stayed there pausing to look at it. And I'll always remember that.
Hopefully we'll see these. I mean, if dry dress rehearsal was any indication, we'll be able to see these astronauts have a similar moment, do what is one of my favorite moments in the whole launch countdown, the astronaut lean back when they just try to take in, like you said, this ginormous vehicle that they're about to ride in.
Yeah, and we should see that happen in just a few minutes. But in the meantime, we learned a little bit more about Shane and Megan as they rode out to the pad. Now let's take a closer look at mission specialist Thomas Pesquet at
on
Issa.
Countdown 1. We've received our final weather brief for the Dragon Ascent corridor weather. Ascent weather is go for launch. The final weather brief for pad escape winds will be at T-minus 1 hour.
Okay, so we heard ascent weather looking good. We'll hear another weather brief at T-minus 1 hour. But again, Thomas Pesquet of Issa will be the first European to fly aboard Crew Dragon and the first European to launch from U.S. soil in more than a decade.
Okay, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I tend to work a lot, even outside of work. Going to new places, meeting new people. I like new experiences. I like to learn all the time. My name is Thomas Pesquet, and I'm a mission specialist for NASA's SpaceX Crew 2 mission to the International Space Station. On board the Crew Dragon as a mission specialist, everything that's manual is in our ballpark. If we have to open a hatch, if we have to use the emergency equipment, if we have to open or close valves, if we have to manage the cargo and the stowage, all this is going to be on us. I remember as a kid, everybody's an interest, but mine was space shuttles and planes, and I had the posters in my room, the complete kit. And so I went into math and physics, and then I became an engineer. I went into aerospace. It seemed natural at the time. And then I got a chance to become a pilot, which was kind of another piece. We have an astronaut selection every 10 to 15 years in Europe. And I didn't think it was going to happen, but I passed all the selections, and I made it. So really, it's been a dream. I've been so lucky. If I would have pictured it when I was a kid, I couldn't have pictured it any better than what really happened. The space station, to me, it's a step for exploration. So we're preparing the next steps that are going to take us, to the moon and to Mars. And then at the same time, we're using the space station as an orbiting laboratory. So every day, you do research that you couldn't be doing on the ground. You have to prepare for the spacewalks. You always prepare it very meticulously, very thoroughly, and then once you go out, and just your adrenaline is very high. And it's also physically challenging because you're going to be for 6-7 hours fighting against that spacesuit, because that spacesuit is inflated with air for you to be able to breathe, which means it's going to resist your movements. So those are huge, big memories that you have, but really also sometimes the small things, like the fun that you could have. It's one of the big achievements of the space program is to bring people together. That's what makes us go. You know, in the future, I think our programs are going to be more and more ambitious. So we're going to need more than just one country. No single country in the world can do it on its own. So I think it's the partnership that takes us forward. It makes you better. It makes you achieve more. And I think that's the path we're in. The space station has paved the way. I mean, every future big space program is going to have to follow the same path.
So there we can see Shane and Megan have made their way up the tower. They're now climbing the stairs to the level where the crew arm is located. Before Aki and Thomas make their way to the elevator at the ground level of Pad 39A, let's get a look at mission specialist and JAXA astronaut Aki Hoshide. Once at the space station, he will be part of the first ever direct handover from one Japanese astronaut to another.
I meant to check this, but do you know when I was selected as an astronaut? 1999, thank you. I always get mixed up there. So I was born in Tokyo, Japan, and then from age 3 to 7, I actually lived in New Jersey because of my dad's job. In high school, I went to Singapore for 2 years. Went to Keio University in Japan. Got my degree in mechanical engineering. And then right after college, I joined the Japanese Space Agency. I have dreamt of becoming an astronaut since my childhood and tried a couple of times in astronaut selection. And on my third try, got selected as an astronaut candidate in 1999. So on my first mission on SDS-124 on the Space Shuttle Discovery, that was my first flight, so I thought I would be nervous, but my crewmates were already like my family, so we were just chit-chatting inside the cockpit.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Shuttle Discovery.
Aki Hoshide heading for a half year on the International Space Station.
My second flight was a long duration flight. We launched on a Soyuz capsule, docked to the space station, and did a lot of science and spacewalks. Flying on 3 different vehicles, that's going to be amazing. The new spacecraft, Crew Dragon, it's a new technology, new layout, new operation, and I can't wait to actually experience it. So I guess the difference would be it's a brand new vehicle, a lot less. It's like a smartphone, I would say, which felt uncomfortable initially because as an astronaut, you're like, where are the switches? Which button do I have to push? So initially I felt a little awkward. Then after training, you get adjusted and you understand, hey, this is how the system works and how can I, as a crew member, help out the mission. It's a privilege, actually, to work together with these people and look forward to actually doing the mission and spending more time working together. I'm Aki Hoshide, JAXA astronaut and mission specialist for NASA SpaceX Crew 2 mission.
All right, that was a look at Aki Hoshide, and we can see the astronauts inside the crew access arm. That walkway here are Commander Shane Kimbrough and pilot Megan MacArthur. Making their way up behind them are Issa astronaut Thomas Pesquet and JAXA astronaut Aki Hoshide. And we'll be seeing them make their way Yep, there they are coming up the steps. And they'll be stopping to use the phone. Shane and Megan already had the opportunity to do that. That phone is up where you see the person in the black suit. That looks like Jessica Meir, number 38, part of the closeout team at the pad. And this is a shot inside the white room. Astronaut Shane Kimbrough to the left of your screen. And to the right, you can see the side hatch of the Crew Dragon Endeavour is open in preparation for the next milestone, which will be crew ingress in just a few minutes. If you're just joining us, you're watching live coverage of NASA's SpaceX mission known as Crew 2. Good morning and welcome to Kennedy Space Center in Florida. I'm Marie Lewis with NASA Communications.
And I'm Kate Tice, Senior Certification Engineer at SpaceX. Joining us today is NASA astronaut Tracy Caldwell Dyson. Welcome, Tracy. We're so happy that you're able to join us this morning.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Marie. It's great to be here.
So as you can see, the crew has already arrived at Pad 39A, where Falcon 9 will lift off at 5:49 a.m. Eastern Time. We can see that Megan and Shane are in the white room here, undergoing final checkouts and just comfort checks with the suit and closeout team. One thing that we'll see them do momentarily is the closeout lead there on the right-hand side with the tablet will provide them with a black Sharpie, and they're going to actually add their signature to the wall to their right of this white room. We named it the white room to keep, again, in space tradition, from previous human spaceflight programs, but something different this time. We're actually having all the astronauts that fly on Crew Dragon sign their names. And there's a shot inside the crew tower. It looks like where Aki and Thomas are now using the telephone for a final goodbye. Now, Tracy, do you want to talk a little bit about the significance of that particular telephone?
I think it's a great way to surprise your family and friends on launch day. I know that my parents were not expecting it, and it was probably one of the more emotional moments for them.
And in a moment, we will see Commander Shane Kimbrough. Here he is climbing inside Crew Dragon Endeavour. We call this process ingress. And pilot Megan MacArthur following.
So we can see the closeout team assisting the crew.
Crew ingress has started on schedule.
Announcement there that we are on schedule with our activity here of crew ingress. Like I was saying, you can see the closeout team assisting the crew as they enter the capsule to assure that they don't ding their helmet or any part of their suit on the hatch as they're entering. There's also some protective coverings around the hatch itself, but just to make sure that there's a clear path to entry, we now see suit technicians assisting the crew getting settled and will help the crew members get buckled in. The harness that we see coming into the picture here is not just your normal seat belt, although it does function in that purpose. It's a 5-point harness, and the crew will start to buckle themselves in, and kind of like when you get on a roller coaster, like you get your initial fit up, and then your safety team member comes over and makes sure that you're locked and loaded and ready to go. This is a great shot because we can actually see the touch screen, the LCD display screens above the crew. They might look in an awkward position right now. That's just because the seats are actually in a rotated downward for crew ingress. After everyone is all buckled in and the communications and leak checks have been performed, the seats will rotate back so that the crew has easier access to those display screens. But in addition to those display screens, they also have a tablet either on their side. You might see some of the crew members have it Velcroed on one of their legs, and they're also able to follow along with what's going on in the action using those tablets.
And again, we see Commander Shane Kimbrough in the foreground of your screen. This is a shot from inside the Crew Dragon Endeavour. Pilot Megan MacArthur sitting to his right. And momentarily, we will see Issa astronaut Thomas Pesquet, who's on the phone right now, and JAXA astronaut Aki Hoshide in the background, ingressing Dragon. And so we're going to go over to Hawthorne, California for our NASA and SpaceX friends there to take us through the rest of this action. Gary, Jesse?
Hey, Marie, great to be with you here from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. We're following along on all the action going on over at the Cape from here in California. The SpaceX flight control team monitoring the progress as the crew is ingress. Again, we're watching crew ingressing the Dragon capsule, which is just a spaceflight term for climbing aboard. You'll hear a lot of these space terms in the coming hours and days. Ingress is just what we use when crew members are getting into a spacecraft or an airlock, while egress means the opposite. They're exiting. Before climbing into the capsule today, the crew completed a foreign object debris check, or FOD check. That means they themselves have to be inspected for any substance or debris that isn't supposed to be on them or their suits, which could potentially cause damage to Dragon. In fact, we also heard an informal comm check. We heard the voices of Shane Kimbrough and Megan MacArthur in the seats right now. They'll do a more formal poll as we get later into the ingress procedures.
And we got some really cool views of the second two astronauts walking through the crew arm, making their way to the Dragon capsule. And to help protect against debris, the crew has covers on their boots as well as on their umbilical port on their suits that need to be removed before they can ingress. And once the FOD check was complete for the first two astronauts, Commander Shane Kimbrough ingressed first, followed by Megan. And then next up, we will have Aki and Thomas, who just made it to the white room that you can see on your left-hand screen. And Megan and Commander Shane Kimbrough are now strapped in. They're getting all hooked up to their umbilicals, and the umbilicals allow the crew to have their comms through their suit, air to help keep them cool, as well as delivers nitrox for suit pressurization. And as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, the suit's primary function is to protect the crew in the event of a cabin depressurization.
Now, there are 4 seats configured right now inside Dragon. They're numbered 1 to 4 from right to left. When you're looking at the seats, you can see Shane Kimbrough now positioned in seat 2, or the commander seat. Megan MacArthur beside him now in seat 3, which for Crew Dragon is the pilot seat. Aki Hoshide will take the seat number 1, which is on the far right of your screen, and it's the left seat. Thomas Pesquet will be in seat 4, the left of your screen. That's called the right seat. Now, it's worth noting that Megan is sitting in the same seat in the same capsule that her husband Bob Behnken sat in during the Demo 2 test flight to the space station last year. Directly in front of the crew members, you can see sort of to the top of the panel that's on the right there, there are 3 displays that they'll use throughout the flight, getting insight into Dragon's systems, seeing any alerts or issues with the vehicle, and if required, taking control and manually flying Dragon.
Coming up, the crew will do a comm check, and Megan and Shane Kimbrough actually did an unofficial or informal comm check, but there will be a formal comm check once all 4 astronauts are in their seats. And that is to make sure that they can hear mission control, mission control in Hawthorne, and then their seats will be rotated into position for launch once those comm checks are complete. So what you're seeing right now is, I believe that is Aki ingressing the vehicle.
On the far end, it looks to be Thomas. Thomas taking the right seat, the left from, if you're looking directly through the side hatch, but it is the right seat. He and Aki both have the same role as mission specialists. They're just far enough away where they don't necessarily have access to that display panel that Kimbrough and MacArthur will use as soon as the seats rotate.
Mission Specialist 2 from the capsule, Comm Check.
Hey, bienvenue au Dragon, Thomas. Got you loud and clear. Help me.
I got you loud and clear, Chad. Thanks a lot. Good to be here.
love how fast that happens, Jesse, as soon as they get into the seat. They do have those umbilicals that they were carrying that was providing air, some conditioned air to their suits, and was able to pressurize it when they were in the ONC building. Those suits will provide pressure to the suits when that comes later in the countdown. First is the Comm Check. So yeah, Thomas plugged that in, and that's that informal Comm Check. They're going to do a formal poll with all the launch support teams as well as the mission control teams here in Hawthorne, California. Aki Hoshide entering through the side hatch now.
Yeah, definitely very exciting, Gary. This is one of my favorite parts, is watching them ingress onto the vehicle. It's really getting real. You know, we have been watching them since the suit up room, but now they are officially on the vehicle, getting strapped in, getting ready for this.
SpaceX MS-1, checking in.
Aki, Dragoni, yokoso. Welcome to Dragon.
Good to be here.
Very cool. We just heard Aki's informal comm check. Again, once they are all strapped in, all their umbilicals are hooked up, their harnesses on, then they will do an official comm check. And followed by that official comm check will be the seat rotation. And you can kind of see on your right-hand screen, the seats are rotated upright right now, but when they're getting ready for launch, they will rotate upwards, looking at your screen, so that they can access those display panels that are right above them.
That's right. Accessing those display panels will be key. In fact, some of the previous missions that we've watched, Demo 2 as well as Crew 1, it was seconds before, I think the seat rotation was still actually rotating when the commander and pilot pulled up their fingers and started pressing. They have a lot of procedures that they got to get through, make sure that they're, yes, you can see already, Shane Kimbrough already accessing the panel. Those checklists are some of the things from the crew side that they'll have to do. Again, some of those key visual milestones. Well, first are the audio milestones. We'll do the formal communications check with all the ground teams, making sure everyone can check in through the various communication pathways that we have on Dragon. There's some communication lines through the ground. We also have communication through ground stations, as well as TDRIST geosynchronous satellites. So they'll test all of these different pathways, making sure that the crew can hear and all systems are go before they begin those next couple of milestones. Jesse, you mentioned the seat rotation. That's a very visual milestone, as well as the leak checks. We saw that again in the ONC building not too long ago, but they'll do another one here before they, the advanced teams that are there now that are currently preparing the crew in their seats before they go ahead and depart the access arm and leave the blast danger zone.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, they did perform those suit leak checks while in the suit up room at the ONC building, but they'll do that again right before liftoff, and that's because, you know, they're strapped into a whole new system now. They're strapped into the Dragon system officially, so we want to make sure that their suits are good for liftoff today. And again, we have all 4 astronauts on Crew 2 sitting in each of their seats. These are custom seats with their custom suits for each astronaut. And it's almost like its own entire system. It's almost like they are inside of a vehicle inside of a vehicle.
A spacecraft within a spacecraft.
Right.
That's exactly right. That suit will hold pressure. Just in case there is any breach and that causes atmospheric pressure to decrease. They do have that redundancy with the suit itself, providing pressure and holding throughout some of the more dynamic phases of flight. That includes ascent. This is very important until they reach an orbital insertion. It's not too long after they get into a healthy orbit. You got checkouts of the Draco engines that will provide the navigation and some of the thrust needed to make its way to the International Space Station, but it's really not too long until they start doffing or taking off their suits and getting into a position to get some shut-eye. Actually, they got a long flight ahead of them.
Yeah, it's about a 23.5-hour flight, so they will want to get comfortable. You can see the suit techs are there helping all 4 astronauts get strapped in, preparing them for these suit leak checks and comm checks coming up here shortly. And you may have seen some of them holding a tablet. That is so that they have access to those procedures. Each procedure has very specific and intentional steps that they need to follow. And the astronauts also have a tablet themselves that they can follow along those procedures.
All right, 2 hours, inside 2 hours and 34 minutes from launch. We're going to stand by and wait for those communication checks. Meanwhile, let's check in for an operational update with John Innsbrucker for the latest health on both vehicles. John.
Well, as Gary said, just over 2.5 hours remaining in the countdown for the launch of Falcon 9 with Dragon on the Crew 2 mission to the space station. The Dragon launch ops team has completed their major activities to prepare the spacecraft for the astronauts. Checkouts are complete of the major systems, including the escape system. And as you can see on your screens, ingress of the astronauts is well underway, all 4 crew members inside the Dragon capsule, and there are no issues in work. We're also listening right now for the Dragon team comm checks with the crew. That'll be coming up momentarily. Now, the Falcon 9 team is located in Firing Room 4 in the Launch Control Center at Kennedy Space Center. They're settling in for final checkouts and then propellant loading and launch. We've been hearing some of the comm checks as the engineers get on station here in the last 15-20 minutes. Now, the Falcon 9 team will also do comm checks with the crew. That'll happen at about T-minus 2 hours, or about 30 minutes from now. Currently, all systems are go on the launch vehicle. The range continues to report no problems. The weather forecast continues to be acceptable. We're looking at weather not only at the launch site, but around the world. We need to make sure conditions are acceptable if Dragon has to splash down in the Atlantic in case of an escape. We're also monitoring contingency splashdown locations if the crew had to come back to Earth before docking with the space station. Now, if this were to happen, SpaceX and NASA are coordinating with the U.S. Coast Guard to ensure crew safety upon splashdown. That includes extra ships and air assets to patrol the 10 nautical mile keep out zone. This will help mitigate safety concerns for any boaters who may approach the landing area. But right now, as the clock continues to count down, all systems are go at T-minus 2 hours, 31 minutes, and 32 seconds. Let's head back over to Jesse and Gary, who are also here in Hawthorne with me.
Thanks, John. In order to get to where we are today, our third human spaceflight, it took years of hard work. The development of Crew Dragon really started with Cargo Dragon because Dragon was designed from the beginning for flying humans to space, so much so that even the first Cargo Dragon had a window. Our teams implemented a number of design upgrades to make sure both Dragon and Falcon 9 are suitable for flying people, and then put both vehicles through thousands of tests to prove their safety. At SpaceX, we believe in a process of continued iteration that allows us to continuously improve the designs of all of our hardware. Now, with that said, Dragon underwent a few improvements since it last flew people.
That's right. Components have been added to the Dragon propulsion system that increases pad abort performance by over 10%, which increases launch availability by more than doubling the onshore wind limits. A fly-around capability was also added, which will allow Dragon to circumnavigate around the International Space Station post-undocking in order to take pictures and document the condition of the station. As you might recall, this was a maneuver the shuttle used to perform, but since its retirement, there hasn't been any spacecraft that has been able to provide detailed imagery around the space station. You could equate this to being able to walk around your house and check on it to make sure nothing is in need of repair.
We've also added and improved some interior cargo stowage locations to make it easier for the crew to access items that they will need during free flight. And lastly, the paint on the mud flaps and Super Draco cartridges were changed from silver to white. While this may seem like an aesthetic change, it actually results in a lower equilibrium temperature on orbit for a given solar input. This has the advantage of increasing return availability by improving structural margins during splashdown.
So a lot of preparation has come into ensuring the safety of these missions, and we're really excited to see Crew 2 lift off from the Kennedy Space Center later today. Still standing by for those communication checks. You can see some of the suit technicians getting them situated. They become quite pros at this, Jesse. Just as soon as they got into the seats, you saw some of their gloves were off. Those gloves specially designed and form-fitted to each of the astronauts. The gloves are now in place. Very shortly, we'll be hearing the communications checks. Some of the other milestones that'll happen very quickly as well will be the seat rotation. It'll be from this position that allows the suit technicians to access each of the astronauts and help them get buckled, strapped in, and the umbilicals checked out. And then, of course, there'll be the suit leak check.
And we got a cool view looking from outside of the Dragon capsule in through the hatchway. And some fist bumps there from the suit techs to the astronauts.
It's an exciting day for everyone, really. The anticipation, I can't even imagine. You want to, just knowing, seeing the pilots and the commanders from previous missions accessing the panel, wanting to get through their checklists. You know they're really soaking in this moment, but at the same time, they are thinking about those next steps. What do I have to do to prepare to make sure we're ready to launch on time today?
Exactly. They must be so excited, but this is their job at the moment, right? They're actually...
SpaceX Endeavour, we're in section 1.3, ready for comm checks.
SpaceX copies. Stand by for umbilical comm check. CDR, PLT, MS1, MS2, comm check.
CDR, loud and clear.
PLT, loud and clear.
MS1, loud and clear. And MS2, loud and clear.
And core, loud and clear. Umbilical comm checks complete. Stand by for ground station comm check.
If you're just now joining us, they are performing comm checks right now, so that is what we are waiting for. They've done a couple so far. There will be a few more call-outs here for these communication checks.
Dragon, SpaceX, comm check.
Endeavour has you loud and clear.
And core, loud and clear. Ground station comm check complete. Stand by for Teeter's comm check.
An incredible view from one of the handheld cameras of the suit technician peering in through the side hatch. This side hatch is open now and will remain closed throughout the duration of the mission until Dragon splashes down. We're standing by for some of the further communication
Dragon,
checks.
SpaceX, comm check.
Endeavour has you loud and clear.
And core, loud and clear. Teeter's comm check complete. Stand by for comm checks with MD and LD in the launch configuration.
Dragon, MD on countdown 1, comm check.
MD, have you loud and clear on countdown 1.
MD loud and clear, stand by for comm check over Dragon to ground. Dragon, MD on Dragon to ground, comm check.
MD, loud and clear, Dragon to ground.
MD loud and clear, stand by for comm checks with LD.
Dragon, LD on countdown 1, comm check.
LD, loud and clear, countdown 1.
LD, loud and clear. Stand by for a comm check over Dragon to ground. Dragon, LD on Dragon to ground. Comm check.
LD, loud and clear, Dragon to ground.
LD, loud and clear.
And Dragon SpaceX launch configuration comm checks complete. Report when ready for seat rotation per section 2 of 4.100.
All right, and you heard that call. The communications checks are complete from all the various
SpaceX Endeavour, we are ready for seat rotation.
Copy. Will report when initiating.
Excellent. The communications checks are complete. The next step will be the visual milestone of seat rotation. So again, those communication checks were through some of the various paths of communication to Dragon, including through some of the ground lines, as well as ground stations.
Dragon SpaceX initiating seat rotation.
Copy.
And you can see on your screen that seat rotation has now begun. They are rotating from upright to the recline launch position. And this will give Shane Kimbrough and Megan MacArthur access to those display panels right above them. And it's very slow and steady, but this is a pretty cool view that we have here on our screen.
An amazing view, really.
You can see how much cargo space we have under those seats as well.
Dragon SpaceX seats are in the launch position.
Copy, great news.
And that seat rotation is now complete. You can already see them getting their hands on that touch screen.
Dragon SpaceX, you are go for section 3, suit leak check preparation.
Copy, go for section 3.
These milestones really happening in rapid succession. As you mentioned, Jesse, it wasn't really too long until they reached up and started touching through some of those procedures. That first one, of course, is the suit leak checks. Communications checks complete from all the various communication paths, and seats are rotated into the position for launch. Those seats specially designed for each astronaut. Not only it allows them to access that display panel.
Chair complete, ready for leak check.
Copy Endeavour, we see the same. Your go for section 4, suit leak check.
Section 4 in work.
And they've now begun those suit leak checks. So to catch up on the station side, let's check in with Courtney at Johnson Space Center. Courtney, how's it going?
Thanks, Jesse. As we said earlier, the team here in Mission Control Houston is actively controlling and monitoring the space station as they await Dragon's arrival. The Expedition 65 crew is in the early part of their day after waking up at 1 a.m. Central Time. The crew on board have completed a number of tasks to prepare the station for Crew 2's arrival. NASA's Victor Glover received some additional onboard training for monitoring Dragon during its final approach, which he'll do from the station's cupola. In addition, he will set up computers and control panels needed for approach monitoring and hatch operations and pre-position emergency equipment. He will also work with Soichi Noguchi to get the extra station crew quarters ready for the new residents. Back here in Houston, our rotating flight directors and their teams will be in constant communication with the SpaceX mission director for the duration of the flight uphill. Once we get integrated operations, the NASA flight director will be conducting a series of go-no-go polls at the predetermined check checkpoints for Dragon's approach. For now, we'll continue to follow along from here in Mission Control Houston, so I'll send it back to the team at Kennedy. Over to you, Marie.
All right, thank you, Courtney. If you're just joining us, it is T-minus 2 hours, 18 minutes and counting until the first astronaut launch of the year from U.S. soil and the third crew launch for SpaceX in NASA's Commercial Crew Program.
Commander Shane Kimbrough, pilot Megan MacArthur, and mission specialists Thomas Pesquet and Aki Hoshide are strapped into their seats, rotated back, and safely inside Crew Dragon Endeavour. The next milestones coming up are, actually, we just completed seat rotation, and we're going to have hatch closing coming up shortly.
This will be the first reuse of Crew Dragon. This is the same capsule that flew Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley in SpaceX test flight to the space station last year. The crew today is also flying on the same Falcon 9 rocket booster that lifted the Crew 1 astronauts into orbit last fall.
And we are also ready to see the first European astronaut fly in Crew Dragon. Of course, that's Thomas Pesquet. And NASA's Jasmine Hopkins is at a nearby viewing location with a special guest from the European Space Agency. Jasmine?
Thanks, Marie. Crew 2 will be the first commercial crew mission to include 2 astronauts from our international partners. And here to talk to us more about it is Frank Davina, Issa's manager for the International Space Station program.
We see the same. Good leak checks. Closeout team will perform.
Good morning, good afternoon in Europe.
Thank you so much for being here today with us, Frank. We got some call-outs happening over the waves right now, but we're going to continue with your interview. So you understand the space station as both an astronaut and as a manager. You flew there twice. Can you tell us what today's mission means to Issa?
Well, today is a very important mission, of course, for Issa. It's the first time that we fly an Issa astronaut on a U.S. commercial crew vehicle, the Dragon, the Crew 2. And it's also the start because we fly Thomas Pesquet today on the Alpha mission, but in fall we will fly Matthias Maurer, and next year we will be back here to fly Samantha Cristoforetti. So it's really a great time for Issa to be on these missions. We have 4 USOS crew members now permanently on the International Space Station, which means that we have a big increase in the number of hours of crew time utilization that we can do. So we have a whole science package from Issa, but also from our partner agency, CNES, that will be executed during this Alpha mission on board. So it's a great time to be here, and we are very excited.
Right, that is fantastic. And we are very excited. It's also an exciting time for Issa because you are going through astronaut selections as well. Can you talk to us about how Issa is planning to expand the number of European astronauts on the space station?
Yes, we are indeed starting a new astronaut selection this year. The campaign is running. We are asking all people from around Europe to participate and to put in their candidacy till the end of May. And then the selection process will take about a year. And then by the end of next year, we hope to select a new class of astronauts that then will fly towards the International Space Station as of 25, 26, something like that. And so we are also working with our international partners, of course, like NASA, to extend the space station till 2030, because from an ESA point of view, it's very important that we continue the research and the technology development that we can do on the space station. Of course, science for the benefit of humankind here on Earth, but also to prepare for the future of exploration. As you know, ESA is also a participant in the Gateway. Some of the astronauts will fly to the Gateway as well, so we need to expand our reach of humankind in the rest of the universe.
Right, that's fantastic. We know there's a lot of great science that's going to be going on board the station, especially from Thomas Pesquet. You've spoken about the European Robotic Arm previously. Can you tell us more about that and how he's going to be involved?
Yes, also the 15th of July, we will see the launch of the MLM from Baikonur, from our Russian colleagues, Roscosmos. And on this multi-lab purpose module, there will be the European Robotic Arm. A robotic arm that has been prepared long time ago, has been long time in storage, be waiting for its launch. And now finally we will be able to commission the European robotic arm during the flight of Thomas Pesquet, the first part of the commissioning. The second part will happen during the flight of Matthias Maurer. And then hopefully we can start using this arm also to enhance the capabilities of the space station on the Russian segment, to place, for example, experiments on the outside of the Russian segment or to relocate some modules. So we are very excited as well to also work with our Russian colleagues of Roscosmos and Energia to get finally this European robotic arm launched to the space station.
Right. No, that's very exciting. We're glad to see some of those specifics of what he's going to be working on board. Can you tell us about the importance of our commercial and international partnerships with Issa?
Well, it's very important that we have this partnership going, of course, in the International Space Station. At one day, the ISS will come to an end. But for sure, the partnership will continue. And that is already clear in the Gateway program now, and we hope to extend that further to the lunar surface with the astronaut, with the Artemis program, and also have European astronauts one day walking on the surface of the moon. So the partnership for us is extremely important to be able to execute our exploration program. But also the commercial partnership is very important because ESA wants to continue to fly astronauts to low Earth orbit even after the ISS. We want to be able to do research in low Earth orbit after the ISS, do technology development that we will need for further exploration after the ISS. But most probably it will not be the same configuration anymore as we have today. It will be in a partnership with the commercial sector. It's what we call the LEO economy. And so one of the tasks that we have as well at ESA is to help build this LEO economy so that we can also have a good and thriving future of astronautics, flying astronauts, research and science in low Earth orbit after the ISS.
Right. We have a lot to look forward to then from ESA. Frank DeVena, thank you so much for being here with us today. Now we're going to take it back to the KSC host desk.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. Teams are running about 16 minutes ahead of schedule, and hatch close will be happening momentarily. So we're going to go over to John Insprucker in Hawthorne. John?
Thanks, Marie. We are coming up on T-minus 2 hours, 12 minutes and counting. Right now, the Falcon 9 team is on console in firing room 4. They are preparing for their communication checks with the crew. That's due at about T-minus 1 hour, 55 minutes. SpaceX engineers right now, they're continuing to pressurize the launch vehicle gas storage bottles. These are composite overwrapped pressure vessels. They contain gases used to fill the tanks with hot helium as the propellant is drained out of the first and second stages. We're also storing helium and nitrogen gases on the vehicle. We use those to spin the Merlin engine turbopumps when we start an engine in space. For example, when we light the second stage engine after it separates from the first stage. We're also using gas for attitude control systems. Both the first and second stages of the Falcon 9 have an ACS system. And finally, the landing systems use the gas to help with the grid fins and then deploying the legs right before touchdown on the drone ship. Now, currently for Falcon 9, the countdown is proceeding nominally at this point. On board the Dragon spacecraft Endeavour, we heard the comm checks just a little while ago between Dragon team and crew. We've seen the astronauts rotate their seats to the flight position. We've successfully completed the suit leak checks, and we're watching right now as the hatch is coming down as part of the closure sequence of events. And then once we get the hatch closed, the SpaceX support team will perform a final leak check of that hatch. Now, once that leak check is finished and it passes, the team will then begin the steps to ready the access arm for retraction. Once they've got everything configured, the team will leave the pad by T-minus 1 hour at the latest. Now, T-minus 2 hours coming up here very shortly, Kennedy Space Center personnel will begin final sweeps of the flight caution and hazard areas. Right now, the only people that are inside the roadblocks in a perimeter around pad 39A are the crew and the SpaceX support team that you see on your monitor. And right now, as we get ready to bring the hatch down, we're going to go back to the team at Kennedy Space Center.
Thanks for that update, John. As you can see, we are preparing for the closure of the side hatch. The closeout team there in the black SpaceX flight suits that you see have performed a final FOD check, and they've gotten the final okay from the crew inside the capsule to confirm that they are indeed ready to go to space today. As you can see, the side hatch has just been closed. This is a little bit more complicated than it may seem. So it's this initial closure, and then there will be actual mechanical closure using a torque wrench, which we should see here momentarily. Might be, yeah, we can see that happening now. And then afterward, we will inflate the seal that's around the side hatch in order to do that leak check. We'll inflate the seal, apply a pressure basically, and make sure that the hatch is able to hold that designated pressure for a couple of minutes. And once that's done, we'll put the side closure there on the open part of the hatch that still remains. And like John said, at that point, the crew will then begin to prepare the crew access arm for retraction.
And I can't emphasize this enough. We've seen this time and time again with SpaceX. The written timeline, has very specific times laid out, but oftentimes we see that they're ahead of schedule, and that's certainly the case here.
Side hatch is closed and starting leak checks on schedule.
Okay, so we heard the announcement that the side hatch is
Copy.
closed.
Thanks for the words, Chad.
And leak checks are beginning momentarily on the side hatch. Now, when I say that they're ahead of schedule, that does not mean the launch time is changing. Launch is instantaneous. That cannot change. That's holding for 5:49 and 2 seconds this morning, Eastern Daylight Time. But when the teams work ahead, as they are in this case, if everything goes well with the side hatch leak checks, all that does is give them more time, more margin to troubleshoot if an issue does pop up after this point. So they may be running ahead of the timeline, but regardless, we're still going to see launch, if everything goes well, at 5:49 and 2 seconds this morning.
And what we're seeing now is the closeout team basically installing the fixture that will allow us to begin to inflate that seal that is around the side hatch, which, like I said, pressurizing and then for a couple of minutes to ensure that the side hatch is able to maintain that designated pressure. As you can see, everyone's following along with procedures on their tablets. Everyone has a specific job. That's what the numbers are for, located on the back of the of the flight suits. Everyone has a specific role, and all of this has been practiced multiple times, which is why it looks like the well-oiled machine that we see here. Stacy, at this point in time, the door is closed. You know stuff is happening on the outside. Where is your heart? Where is your head at this point in the launch countdown? Because you're not quite there yet, but like you said earlier, your suit's on, so like the on button has been pushed.
Exactly. Exactly. And right now, I imagine, I've not been in the Dragon capsule, but I'm pretty sure the crew can hear what the closeout crew is doing right now. So they're probably listening to the mechanisms and their spacecraft breathing. But at this point, now that the hatch is closed, it's like a new phase. It's just the four of you, and from this point forward, that it's just the four of you. So your focus kind of comes in a little bit before you're coordinating with the second team, but now it's just the four of you, and then the voices that you hear. So it's kind of it's a transition.
We got word that the crew aboard the International Space Station is also watching all of this unfold live. Of course, they were sitting in these seats at the pad in their Crew Dragon Resilience that's currently docked to the International Space Station. So that crew is watching the crew on the pad today and getting ready to welcome them aboard if all goes as planned early tomorrow morning. And again, if you're just joining us, the side hatch of the Crew Dragon Endeavour on the launch pad has just closed, and leak checks of that side hatch are in progress. This is a view of the White Room with members of the SpaceX pad closeout team you see in the black flight suits. And the shot we saw just before this was from inside the Crew Dragon Endeavour capsule.
Like I mentioned earlier, it's not as simple as just closing the door on your car or to your house. We do inflate the seal around the side hatch.
Oh, no. They're playing rock, paper, scissors. Double-fisted rock, paper, scissors.
What's the prize? That's what I want to know.
I know.
What's the end game here?
Yeah, what's at stake?
So, like I said, this process takes a couple of minutes. We inflate the seal around the side hatch and make sure that it's able to maintain that pressure for a couple of minutes prior to actually performing the rest of the physical preparation of the side hatch itself. Which at that point, after the successful leak check, will mostly just involve removing the remaining ground support equipment away from the area and installing the tiny hatch on the hatch. The rock, paper, scissors shoot with the Crew 2 crew continues on.
I was going to say, let's get back to the technical part of the rock, paper, scissors. They did this during dry dress, and we wondered what was going on. And it may be that they're just making up for lost time. I don't remember seeing them do this during the suit up. And so they're getting in their rock, paper, scissor now.
It's critical.
It's totally critical.
But in all seriousness, I think that, when we see the joke, that we see the crew kind of joke around and have those moments of levity, they can do that because they know these procedures like the back of their hand.
Exactly.
It's all like muscle memory at this point because they've rehearsed it so many times.
Yeah, this is definitely a good sign. They have a moment of levity.
So it's T-minus 2 hours, 2 minutes, and counting. The hatch close has been completed a little bit ahead of schedule, and we're awaiting the results of a side hatch leak check to make sure they can proceed.
I'd love to know what the winner gets in this rock, paper, scissors game that we see.
This will be probably a question, the first opportunity they have to answer questions after this.
See, I just happen to be looking at the crew's schedule on board right now, and my memory of those days being on board, waiting for a crew to come up to see you. It's a lot of anticipation because they're coming to see you, and so I'm just thinking about Mike and Shannon and Victor and Suichi, Mark on board, at least in the U.S. segment, to be anticipating this. And they just got their day started, and I see a lot of flexible activities, and so they're probably getting updates from Mission Control right now.
We have time to take a couple of questions for social media while this hatch leak check is in progress, if we could pull one of those up. Does food taste the same in space? Tracy, you're the only one here that can answer that.
I think that one's for me. I would say that food probably tastes the same. It's your taste buds detecting it that go through a little alteration. For me, spicy foods took on a different flavor. Every astronaut's different, so you'll get a different answer depending on who you ask. But shrimp cocktail, loved it on the ground, could not tolerate it in orbit. But
it's very interesting.
Yeah, it was. It was disappointing too because I really liked it, and I packed a lot for that flight.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Next question. Are the big touch screens that the astronauts are looking at just for looking up data and docking on the International Space Station, or could the astronauts do something different with them, like open the side hatch, or separate the trunk, or fire the Draco thrusters manually? Kate.
Yeah, that's a great question. The screens are primarily used for monitoring, especially in the final approach to the station. Everyone can actually see which thrusters are thrusting when, as Dragon is slowing itself down and steering and basically positioning itself to dock with the International Space Station. But for the actions that are like that were mentioned in the question, there are actually a number of hardwired buttons located below the screens there. They're a little difficult to see, so there are some commanding buttons that are located there that would be used in the event of an emergency. I'm not quite sure what each and every button is, but there are also actually a couple of buttons located on the left armrest. You might be able to see it there just under Commander Shane Kimbrough's left arm. There's actually a small control panel that allows them to basically turn their volume up and down, turns on their task light, which is a little personal light there inside the cabin, and of course transmit their communications. So there are a couple of different buttons located around. The ones used most often are certainly there on the side of their arm.
Next question from social media. Why did the other Crew Dragon capsule have to undock and redock on a different space station port? What prevents Crew 2 simply from docking at that other port to avoid all of the repositioning? So that's a great question, and I'm going to try to explain it in a simple way. So the shorter answer is the Crew Dragon Resilience could dock to either the forward port or the zenith port. They're going to be docking to the forward port. That is where the Crew Dragon Resilience, excuse me, I misspoke. The Crew Dragon Endeavor is what's on the pad, and they can dock to either the forward port or the zenith port. The Crew Dragon Resilience, which is already on station, relocated from the forward port to the zenith port earlier this month, and that actually had more to do with the Cargo Dragon flight that's coming up this summer. The preferred port for Cargo Dragon is the zenith port, so that keeps the zenith port open for the Cargo Dragon when Resilience departs to come home in just a few days. So it's a little bit of musical chairs, a little bit of just rearranging parking spots on the International Space Station, because it's pretty hopping up there.
What a great problem to have, though. Too many dragons. We got to move things around. One thing that we did learn that came out of that activity, so in order to perform that port relocation...
Side hatch leak check complete, and access panel install has started.
Okay, great information there. Sounds like that.
Copy, thanks.
That leak check was successful, and now they're going to install the final plate there on the side hatch. So this is essentially the last buttoning, the last...
Dragon SpaceX, we're commencing health check for the launch escape system. Expect a momentary flight computer change, followed by transition back to pad hatch closed.
Copy, thanks for the heads up.
As I was saying, this is the last physical buttoning up of the Dragon capsule. Basically the last bit of crossing the I's or dotting the I's and crossing the T's that the vehicle itself will undergo prior to liftoff. And we can see the team working to finish uninstalling the hardware there that was utilized for that leak check.
And so we've got a little over an hour now until the pad team wraps up its final checks and clears the white room. That's when the action will really pick up with the retraction of the crew access arm, the arming of the launch escape system, and propellant loading on the Falcon 9 rocket. So we'll keep a live view of the crew here as they're sitting tight for the next hour or so and provide you with some more context about this mission. Now let's head over to Houston for a closer look at what the crew will be doing once they reach their destination. Courtney?
Thanks, Marie. Once Crew Dragon arrives at the International Space Station, they'll be welcomed by their Expedition 65 crewmates. We're doing something called a direct handover, which just means a new crew of astronauts arrives at the station before another crew departs. It will only last a few days, but we'll have 11 people on board the station. The record for the most astronauts aboard the station was set several times during the Space Shuttle program, when we had as many as 13 for short periods of time. One question we've heard a lot is, where are all of these astronauts going to sleep? The space station has 7 permanent spots for astronauts to sleep, known as crew quarters. When we have more people sleeping on the station than locations for a short period of time, the crew works with flight controllers on the ground to stake out temporary camp-out locations in different modules. We can also have a crew member sleep inside each Dragon capsule, as Crew 1 Commander Mike Hopkins did for his stay on the station. This mission will also continue keeping the long-duration crew size on station at 7 on the U.S. side. We'll have 5 astronauts to conduct research. Just the jump from 3 to 4 astronauts takes our average of 30 to 40 hours of science work a week on station, all the way up to 80 to 100 hours, effectively doubling our amount of time dedicated to research.
Great words on the
With
weather
5
and the
aboard
vehicle.
during
Thank
Crew
you.
2's mission, that number will reach even higher. As the station
Dragon,
is first
confirm
and
when ready
foremost a
for
laboratory.
comm checks with Falcon 9 operators.
Ready for
The crew will
comm checks
jump
with
right into
Falcon 9
conducting
operators.
experiments. And with new research still to be delivered on upcoming cargo flights, including another SpaceX Dragon scheduled right now in June, that's the latest from here in Mission Control. I'll toss it over to Jasmine now, where we will learn more about some of the exciting science on the horizon for Crew 2. Jasmine?